Welcome back to Argyros Happy Hour. This is our second installment, second of three, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight because we are joined by Run Meyer, Nick Kendall, and Charles Yang, better known as Time for Three. Please help me in welcoming back to the Argyros Time for Three.
No, I got it. Thank you so much. Would you guys like some bread? Yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Cheers.
Cheers. All right,
Hey,
Charles.
everybody!
Cheers, everybody. Cheers, everyone. Happy hour will begin now. So let's start off with the first question is always, why the Gin Ricky? Why have you guys selected the Gin Ricky for our happy hour this evening?
Oh, it all comes to diet and physique, Casey.
Of course. I've seen you in the gym, Renan.
All the time.
You know your way around the gym for sure.
Look,
When, Casey? When did you see Renan in the gym? And why?
6 feet apart. 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Years ago, it was some crazy diet, and read somewhere that 100 calories a shot, give or take, and the soda was flatlined, and lime was nothing, and you could basically still enjoy killing blood cells in your brain while not hurting the other parts of your body. So
Well, it used to be gin and tonic, right, for a while, and then Renan gave us this information, and if we did soda, and it's also because if you're on the road, something like we don't know about right now, but if you're on the road, and we love to have like a little drink in the back, and gin became our drink of choice, but with soda water, it allowed there's less sugar.
Yeah.
And the next day,
And you can drink more. You can drink a lot more.
You can drink a lot more.
It just tastes, it tastes like
that.
water.
And be sober for the education thing in the morning,
Yeah.
There's no kids on this tonight, are there, Sam?
Well,
yeah, okay.
Anything in particular about the Gin Ricky a la Time for Three? Are there any special tips that you guys have other than heavy on the Hendrix, of course?
I just got a soda stream, mainly because I didn't want to keep buying club soda water, and I thought maybe just get a soda stream, and that has fixed all my problems. I have to go out and buy carbonated water. I just make it myself. It's a wonderful, wonderful hack.
I mean, actually, one way to drink, which I personally love, it's a little, I don't know why we haven't done it on the road. It's usually lime, but you can also do it with a cucumber, like a cucumber rind. That's very delicious. A sprig of rosemary.
However you make it, it's delicious. And it reminds me of you guys. It's simple, sophisticated, bold, and deliciously drinkable.
Cheers to you, man. And it's
so happy
great.
to drinking with all you guys. This is amazing.
Yeah, everybody in here.
I hope everyone at home is enjoying a Gin Ricky as well, or your cocktail of choice if gin and soda is not your thing. So, I'm sure everyone wants to know, how are you guys doing? How are you feeling? How have the last 10 weeks been for you? What's it been like?
Well, first of all, just want to, we've been thinking about all of you guys so much. And, Charles, Nick, and I get together pretty much every day to have a creative session. We didn't stop working immediately. We probably are working harder than ever because we have time to be creative. It's a weird silver lining for us because as all this is going on in the world and different communities, we've had the opportunity to sort of take a step back and get into this virtual cyber way of, creating. And that has been a blessing. That aspect has been a blessing. So we've been innovating, we've been pioneering, we've been schooled by other incredible people in our business and industry that are doing things at faster rates, and also leading the charge amongst some other people who are sort of a little confused about what to do during this time. So as artists, it's really an amazing challenge. And like I'm sure many people watching, because Sun Valley to us is like this mecca of genius and intellectualism, and people that probably know a lot about how to make a gin drink even better than us. And when it comes down to it, is when it comes to a point of being sort of trapped, creativity is a real gift to have, and it's a source for us to try to be sort of creators in the way that is something that we've never done before. So yeah, I mean, it's been oddly positive in that regard.
Mm-hmm. And how about for you guys, Charles, Nick?
Jet, yeah, I echo exactly what Renan says. It's been a weird feeling. It feels like that feeling when you've committed to something and you're pressed up against the wall and you have a short deadline and you gotta finish the product. The thing is, we don't have a deadline right now and we're not pressed up against the wall, but it's that same feeling that when you're holed up in your apartment and you have you're not on the road, we have to be creative. We're creators ourselves. So like we have to keep that drive going. And that drive, I think, is keeping us sane. It's really easy to think about the situation and think about the future and be like, oh no, what's going to happen to gigs? What's going to happen to touring? But one way to battle that, I feel for all of us, has been to just stay creative and just stay positive about the thing, and just do what we do best. So that's what's really helping us during these times.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine as artists, it's a little bit of a sort of a double-edged sword at the moment, where on the one hand, there are certain things that are kind of off limits to artists at the moment, certain things that you've done for years and you're accustomed to doing. On the other hand, your art is probably something that is a bit of an anchor through all this turbulence, and something that can help you, keep a little bit of focus and a little bit of drive. And I've been just personally, just completely blown away by the variety, the diversity of things in such a short period of time, basically 2 months. There's this whole new ecosystem of arts offerings, that didn't exist prior to March 14th. And now it's kind of everywhere, and a lot of it has this kind of stumbling through the dark quality to it. But there's clearly some interesting and new stuff that's emerging from all this. So yeah. I mean, it's kind of cliched at this point, to think about how the arts will survive, the arts will get us through this. But I think that it's probably true. And
I think we're, each one of us, besides speaking to each other on a daily basis, and we're also connected with our colleagues, and also, like you're saying, Casey, we're seeing the other expressions that are happening during this time. And I think there's, for creative people, especially ones who have a really busy schedule, suffice to say, it's like an awful thing that's happening on the front lines. There's so many people who are suffering, and there's been a catastrophic loss worldwide. But on the other side of it, for us artists, because on a flip of a dime, we have to be home, and we're actually in one place,
mm-hmm.
which is completely new territory for us.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been at home for this amount of consecutive days and weeks, since maybe for a long time. I don't even remember.
Mm-hmm.
But that's allowed for a lot. I mean, we talk about this. It's allowed for a lot of introspection as well.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, when this first hit, it was kind of like a lot of unknowns. So like what's going to happen? And, you know, we're all, I think as a world, everybody was kind of like in this limbo. And I took that time just to kind of like, since everything was totally on pause, I took that time to kind of like have time to think, but also play a lot of repertoire that, you know, I haven't been able to play in years. You know, I used to play just, you know, straight classical sonatas and concertos. And I just pulled out all sorts of music that had been gathering dust and really got deep into it. And because of that, kind of found a new inspiration and new appreciation for the craft. And I think in our conversations with a lot of colleagues, this has been a real time like that for study and also healing. And kind of reconnecting with things that are important in our life. We're often so tied to the business of getting out in the world, but you know, our relationships are important, and we can spend time on that, and yeah, playing catch up in a lot of ways. So that's been a really positive thing. And the thing is I think everybody is hoping that we can get back to reality, but hopefully without losing some of the beautiful qualities of what we've been able to experience during this pause when we reemerge. So hopefully some of those positive things can stay with us before we jump back into the grid, you know?
Yeah, you mentioned, Nick, that this has been the longest consecutive stretch of days that you've been at home. And, you know, I would bet that there's a number of people who are joining us tonight that don't know that you guys actually live in 3 different cities on the East Coast. You live in DC, New York, and outside Philly. And I mean, I think when people see you, they just see such a cohesive unit that they actually imagine you all going home and living in the same house together. You know?
That's right.
I know, like in my dumb head, that's how I think about it, you know? So
that's a good way to break up a band right there.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. So what has that been like? I mean, you know, you guys are a very tight unit, you know, but as colleagues, collaborators, and as, you know, very close personal friends, and, you know, you've been able to see each other and speak every day, but you're not working together. You're not sharing studio time. And
you know, it's crazy because everybody's, you know, people are approaching this in different ways. Can't speak for anyone. And it's also kind of, it takes a lot of courage to speak really openly and honestly about your feelings on this subject, because it's, you know, it's so personal, and you know, you risk offending people. And so, you know, at that risk, I'm like, I have these blinders on, you know, and every once in a while I just break into tears for like, you know, 10 seconds, and then boom, it's like right back to it. So that's my coping mechanism, you know, just go, you know. And so just the other day, I was, you know, talking to my wife, Emily, you know, because I have 2 little boys, 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and talking about how wonderful this time has been. And I was saying, you know, I could get used to being at home like this. Like, I feel so much love. I'm able to give so much love, and, you know, we're still creating. So something's missing. I can't put my finger on it. And my wife, Emily, said, yeah, the stage forming for people, because that is who you are. And she said that to me, and I literally pushed that down so deep since this has happened. And I haven't, like, as people bring it up, I almost like no, you know, and I've been defending that. And when she said that, it was like this drop inside of me. You know? It's like kaboom. And she couldn't be more right. That's something I think, I don't want to speak for Nick and Charles. I'll let them talk about their feelings on that. For me, that is such a huge part of my identity. And it's definitely, when I do spend a little time thinking about it, it is like heartbreaking, but I also have such faith that we will get back to it. I don't know how it's going to be. It's unknown, but I'm excited about when that will happen. But at the same time, I'm managing my expectations by trying to not think about the when, and to use this as an opportunity to just like gear and ramp up to what it's going to be.
That's a good point.
I think that, you know, one of the defining qualities of you guys as artists, as performers, is this like kind of electric, like crazy connection that you're able to make with your audiences, you know, that you make with one another on stage, and then that kind of like spills over to this intense sense of connection that, you know, is very, it's one of the things that I think makes you so successful as performers. And, you know, the definition of audience is kind of changing before our eyes right now, you know, maybe not permanently, but certainly in the near term and in the intermediate term. And, you know, I wonder how you're re-envisioning what your relationship to your audience is going to be like, you know, in this new environment.
Yeah. I think, yeah, Charles, go ahead.
No, please, Nicholas.
Well, Professor. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely when you had something, it's like anything in life, right? When we never took, I mean, the three of us have never taken the fact that we have a career doing what we love to do for granted. And we never have taken for granted that people want to actually pay money to come see what we do. I mean, that just like is mind blowing. And I mean, that is an amazing honor to have and responsibility to have. And then when you don't have it anymore, that element, like I go back to what I was just talking about. Honestly, the first couple weeks, it was so nice to be off the road. It was so nice to, like, our life as performers is actually pretty unstructured in that we know that it's going to be unstructured, right? Because our life is like, we start working when we go on stage, and everything else is so flexible depending on travel, the road. I mean, it's crazy. So like when you jump into having a routine that you can actually control, that for me is something of a new feeling that I've learned to cope with and actually enjoy, because I know that I can start something and plan on an ending time. Mm-hmm. And that has not been a reality. But I am now beginning, I think I was speaking to the guys about this the other day, but I'm now beginning to feel like, okay, I'm starting to miss it. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to miss the thrill of in the moment, the visceral connection that I have with Vernon and Charles on stage, and the immense amount of focus and energy that goes in to doing that, but then that incredible release that, and I'm not saying it just because we're doing this with you, but Sun Valley, we always talk about this. Sun Valley is such a place where the energy between the three of us, parlaying it with the energy from our family, the audience there, that is something that I think I'm going to start needing pretty soon, and I'm going to have to deal with that when it's not available for some time to come.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that you guys have done quite a few of these, I don't know what they're called. I just call them quarantine recordings, and that you've been on your social media, and they're great. And I know I was talking to Renan over the weekend, and he was saying that like you plan to keep releasing kind of a steady drip of those. So I'm excited to see what else you guys come out with. You know, we've all become familiar. This is kind of this whole new genre, you know, these like split screen recordings that seem to be everywhere all of a sudden. And, you know, I don't think a lot of people actually know what goes into making one, you know, because they kind of create this illusion of spontaneity, you know, or this illusion of everyone playing at the same time. And, you know, I think it would be interesting to get like a quick little tutorial on how you put one of those recordings together, because a lot of work goes into it.
Man, I want Charles to talk on this because he's really doing such great work. Man, but like I just really quick, because I also have been doing my fair share of these, especially as of late. And today I was making a new video, and because I have now so much, so many reps. I don't know how many videos Time 3 has put together at this point, and then on my own personal ones. And so I was doing one for a drummer and I was literally playing and videoing myself, imagining like he was there. So yeah. I'm like playing. I'm like, like he's in my brain, and he's like everything in his moves and the things that he would do, like because of how I sort of intimately know what it's like to make music with him. And I've been noticing I do that with Charles and Nick
For sure.
but it's just because we've made so many of them. It was a real reality, like check to do it with a brand new musician in my mind. But anyhow, Charles, man, you should take it away.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Like going back to it, it's incredible to see how many musicians now are being super creative. You know, it might be the concerto soloists that are doing creative videos, arranging different songs, and it's a time that's necessary to create at home. And a lot of people are learning new skills, learning new ways of putting their creations out there, and it doesn't, you know, we're part of that. So it's hard to have three people. It's damn near impossible to have three people play together over the internet. But the closest thing to that is you know, we know each other. So we've been sending each other Logic files, playing to the other person's recording, then adding on top of that. And yeah, using a lot of Logic Pro, a lot of Adobe Premiere, and just kind of stitching it together. And, you know, honestly, it's a learning process, but it's important, you know, and it's a skill I think a lot of people are using right now that they won't forget, even when things start resuming again. These are valuable skills. Just learning how to record yourself. There are people, you know, that were on the road that didn't have time to learn that. You know, now they're learning how to record themselves. That's a huge part of being a musician in today's time. And now they have that asset, you know? So it's great. It's a lot of work, but it's really cool. It's a great opportunity right now to learn things that you wouldn't have been able to learn when you're busy. So
that's like so many of our friends in the, you know, swing to the classical world. I think more in the popular world, these kind of instruments, you know, utilizing the internet, and it's just somehow more in the vocabulary of their business. But in classical music, it's not so much. And you know, I was just talking to our friend Philip Quint. Says hi, guys. I was he called because he's been trying to figure out how to, like, he's never had to think about this before, and he didn't understand why you needed an extra mic, you know, like but he was so curious, and he learned what kind of mic to use, what kind of, you know, processor that you need, and, you know, what kind of interfaces. And so many of our friends are saying that now we really understand this tool, and also understanding the medium, right? Because for us, when we make music, you know, when you learn all these big symphonies and long form compositions, and you spend many hours thinking about how it's going to happen in a concert hall, right? Which is so much more than just a two-dimensional screen and the sound coming out of the speakers and the visual. It's about the sound of the hall, and also the community experience of everyone being together, feeling that energy at the same time. So no one has really thought about, up until now, about how to really kind of sustain themselves and have these tools, which are so vital in marketing yourself anyway.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your recording efforts, we've started to get some questions in the Q&A feed. Couple ones specifically about upcoming plans for releasing more music. So one's from your good pal Deanna Harned. Said, "Love you guys so much. Love you guys so much. When will you release Vertigo?"
That's in the books.
It's in the books.
We have a plan.
we do have a plan. We're
all right, being a little mysterious there, Nick, but maybe
I gotta take another sip.
Take another sip. A little more courage.
I noticed I noticed my face got redder while this got lower, and I just want you to know, maybe, you know, I haven't had dinner yet, so this is just on an empty stomach.
Well, you said right before we started the broadcast, you said you had a big bowl of pasta on the stove.
Oh yeah, it's waiting for me. It's waiting for me. But yeah, going back to Vertigo, we got it. It's recorded. recorded it in London with a great producer, George Moore, and he did some incredible things. We think you're going to really love this this rendition of Vertigo, and we plan to release it soon. So may it be during this quarantine or not, it's going to be soon.
And then similarly, Alex Z asks, has the lockdown put recording New Time for Three music on hold? Is there a full album on the way soon?
We've been recording and we've been doing new stuff, and we've been even going back to some of the stuff that we haven't released that is a little older. The short answer is no. We keep on moving. Nothing's stopping us. So that's great. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but we're still doing it. Going back to the process, each one of us has our own setup. We all have Logic Pro on our respective computers. We all have our microphones. We all have our headphones. We have a mini studio in each house. So it's just a little more like we have to figure out how to work together, and we have the technical structure to do that.
Yeah.
So we are. And as far as a full album, we're still releasing singles as they come in and discussing a body of work. And coronavirus has definitely affected the way that we release music and sort of the way that we think about releasing music. Just because it's just like, imagine the movies, right? Like, they're used to be able to go to a movie theater, and now, they have these movies in the vault, and they have to decide how they want to release it. Do they do it on Amazon Prime? Do they do it on Netflix, Disney Plus, et cetera? So we're kind of having those very similar thoughts.
We had a really exciting project and plan, and we were really on the road to doing some exciting. We had a plan basically, and but so now our plans have shifted a little bit because of that. But like Renan is saying, it's Vertigo is going to come out very soon. So
well, one of my favorite recordings that you guys have is Joy. And I think it's kind of a defining track for you guys as a band, and for you guys as very joyful people. What are you doing now during this, this uncommon time to bring more joy into your lives and bring joy into the lives of others? Because as artists, that's what you do, Yeah. And now you're having to sort of do that amidst unusual challenges, let's say. But I know that you're all driven enough and creative enough that you're getting past those hurdles. So what are you doing? How are you bringing joy into your life? How are you bringing joy into the lives of your fans? No pressure.
One of the things
we're joyful. We get to see each other every day. I mean, that brings us a lot of joy. Sometimes. We see each other every day. It's almost, we're seeing each other more than we were on the road. And the beautiful thing about that is, when we do see each other, we're also talking about how can we, not just as a band, but how can we make other people feel good? Like when we're writing these little jams, these little ditties that we put on Instagram or YouTube and stuff like that, they're a minute long, but how can we make someone's day or a week, just by providing something so simple, that's the most we can do is to provide joy into the family, if they accept it or not, our creations. So that's what we're talking about when we're meeting and we're creating. It's for you guys. It's not, of course we benefit from it, from feeling great, but it's really something, it's a gift for anybody that is willing to receive it. So yeah, that's what we talk about every day.
If I could just springboard off that a little bit, is also, through wonderful support from Michael and Carol Marks, Amy Dornbush, we've been doing this wonderful thing with hospitals and playing. And so even before COVID-19, we were going to hospitals, playing for bedridden patients. And we've still been doing that even during COVID-19. And we work with this wonderful organization called Musicians on Call. That is part of the Recording Academy, a nonprofit. And they have gone virtual. And so we provided them with a video, a little PSA that they sent to their 30 cities that they work with and about 100 different hospitals. So that's really exciting. We're going to keep on doing that with them as we go. So.
That has been a project that has really inspired us in in such a visceral, musical but spiritual, human way. I mean, this is what I was talking about. We had this amazing thing we were doing, and then obviously we can't go into hospitals right now, but we were I think it was the first of the series of these. We were in a hospital in Indianapolis, the Eskenazi health system. It's a public hospital that they rebuild this brand new facility. It's beautiful, positive vibes, artwork everywhere, tons of light, natural light comes into the building. They really thought, there's a garden for patients who have to stay at the hospital to work on the garden, and just, everything is there, obviously music being part of it. But we sort of went floor to floor to different areas, playing for just anybody who was around. We're just doing these mini pop-up performances. But I'll never forget one of the myriad of experiences we had, but it was one of the first ones, which I think all three of us realized how powerful this journey was going to be. So we were up there in the ward for adult, I guess it's called adult daycare. I'm sorry if it's with adults who have mental disabilities or Alzheimer's, and so they can kind of be taken care of during the day while their caregivers, who are usually family, can go to work and do stuff, continue with their lives. And there was this older woman with a younger woman sitting there. It was kind of an empty area, and the person leading us around went up to them quietly and said, "These are musicians. Can they play for you?" And the younger woman said, yeah, that would be wonderful. So we started playing, and I personally hadn't quite noticed the older woman before, but I did notice that she immediately, when we started playing something, kind of upbeat and fun, with Renan doing his, and this woman started lighting up, and she said, yes, play that music, and yeah, that's that sound, and oh my gosh, and again, I hadn't quite noticed her before, so I just thought this woman was very into stuff and very engaged with life and totally excited about just music and energy, and excited to see young people play, so. And then I also just looked right to her side at the younger woman, who started crying, or she was smiling, but she had like the tears, and afterwards we kind of were putting our instruments away, and she came up and said, so my mom has dementia and has been pretty much silent for a long period of time. And this is the first time she has actually shown signs of life, and totally blown away. And yeah. We went to a hospital in New York City, and we played for the new babies ward, the floor for children who are just newborns, yeah. And we literally played for two couples that came out with babies that were literally like born just a couple hours ago. And the nurses station, it was right where the nurses station is. And we had employees there and these two parents come, and we just literally played super quiet, just pizzicato, and we didn't even play a song. We were just improvising. And you could just see the parents' eyes, and the children, the little babies, were quiet, and it was working. You could really see how the music was affecting the vibe, and also for all the employees and everything. So anyway, this is just two examples of quite a lot of really intense moments that we'll never forget, and we can't wait to get back to doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing those stories, guys. I mean, those are really beautiful memories, and you know, we're happy to have had the benefit of hearing from you. And speaking of different and unique shows that you guys have done, I promise you, I did not self-submit this question, but I did pick it out of the questions that were sent to us earlier in the week. After your wonderful concert in the round earlier this year, will you do more such shows at the Argyros or at other venues?
Oh yeah.
I think they're referring to Time for 360 there. I think.
We
Well, I was
love
just gonna
that
say
show.
it's like playing. It's like playing on top of a mountain.
Yeah.
Ah,
I think it worked one night, and the cue was a little off the second night, but people got the point.
I was so good at that. I practiced that, by the way.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't remember what we're talking about, that was part of our 360 show, and that was right before we played hide and seek, using the magical essence of the acoustic nature and the science that goes behind the Argyros. That was really just magnificent, and I believe we played hide and seek at that moment.
Yeah.
Really.
yeah.
Cool.
Actually, that hall with your amazing hall with that reverb that Sam puts on, is almost like the real thing. It's like playing at the crypt. You know, it's unbelievable what your hall can do.
We
And
actually
yeah.
Sorry, Charles. Yeah.
No, yeah, I was gonna say that show was so fun because we got to use your hall as an instrument. Not only did we play other instruments, but we got to use your hall as an instrument, and that was just the best. You guys are awesome.
What I remember, Nick, most clearly about the top of a mountain bit was a very heated discussion the night before the first show about what exactly you were going to, on top of a mountain or on top of Bald Mountain or on top of the Sawtooth Mountains, on top of Baldy. Yeah, and you felt it was really important to you that you get just the right language, you know? And after kind of going back and forth on a couple different things, you were like, I'm just going to say on top of a mountain. I won't remember anything else.
That was actually probably it.
That took probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something really special about, you know, coming to a community like Sun Valley and collaborating with the Argyros, with all of the amazing minds that Casey, your colleagues are, the whole staff, everybody, yourself, Dave, our tour manager. Somebody asked about Dave in the Q&A. He's doing great, by the way. We're still working together. And sort of like how we can create a feast for you. And that was a real special show, those two shows, because we had the ability to really like think about it for months ahead of time, brainstorm it, push each other, motivate each other, and then hit the ground running with things that we had already discussed and planned for the 3 days, gearing up to the show and making something very, very specific that we imagined for Sun Valley, and gave us all sorts of ideas about how we might be able to do that again with you guys if you would have us, and then even possibly take that on the road and do that at other places. Really, really wonderful experience.
Well, it was a really special show for everyone here who worked on it as well. And obviously, we would be very happy to have you guys back for a future iteration of Time for 360 when the time comes, whenever that time may be.
Yeah.
I think we're coming up on pretty close to an hour here. And
can I get to one question before we go?
Yeah, sure thing.
I just saw our man Dan Drackett had a question.
Hey Dan, Martin, Dan.
He had
Shout out Dan Drackett.
What was it? It's when you create in this atmosphere, does it tend to be more emotional, more sentimental, upbeat, or a bit down, or is it dependent on your daily mood?
That's a good question.
I just felt like we had to answer that one. I'll go because I spit it out.
Okay. You're on the hook, Renan.
I'll kick it off. I'll just say that I think each one of us, but I know collectively with Time for 3, I don't know, guys. I mean, what do you think? It feels like, I mean, we're definitely affected by what's going on, but it seems like our music making is still very much the same, but, you know, going through a wide range of emotions and and sort of the gamut of textures and possibilities and just being even more experimental. But like today we were working on a very optimistic piece, and it was literally all about optimism. We've done some funky jams. We've done some stinky jams. We've done some real like sort of somber emotional pieces about all sorts of things. So I don't know.
That's true. I came at the morning after. So 2 weeks ago, I was very lucky. I was out in the country. I was outside of Washington D.C. and I came to our morning session telling the guys that I had just, the night before I'd gone outside, like at 2 a.m. I was trying to finish up a thing for us, really late at night. My wife had gone to sleep and I was outside and I looked up at this. It was a clear night. The moon was out, stars were shining. And I just kind of shared with the guys, how small I felt in the grand scheme of like everything, but yet how appreciative I am about life, but yet in a single moment, our life as we know it can be stopped by something so natural, and and just the meaning of I shared just kind of like stuff I wrote down, and we immediately kind of went into, Charles got his guitar and started doing a thing, which then Renan did this, and then I did some this, and we actually did a little phone recording, and it's definitely going to turn into something. But I think Dan, and Dan knows us really well, just like so many people in that community. We are very emotional. We're artists we think with our hearts and we play with our hearts. And a lot of our songwriting and pieces, like Renan, you were talking about today, you brought that to us, this very positive vibe, things that we're grateful for right now. That does happen, and that is really liberating. For myself, it's a challenge to not be like in the same room doing that, because there's so much of like the sound actually happening in the second, which we can, like Charles was saying, it's hard to do in this virtual medium, but yeah, we are definitely part of the experience now, and both living in it but also trying to rise above it, I think.
Well, good. I mean, good on you for, trying to live in it and rise above it. That's a great intention to set for yourself and for your band. And we miss you guys. We really love you. Everyone here loves you. We're very excited to see you back in the Wood River Valley, back at the Argyros, whenever that may be. And, I am personally very appreciative to each of you for taking the time this evening to share your thoughts, share your perspective, share a little bit of your soul with all of us. And that's why we love you,
Well, thank you.
And
same to you and your staff.
What's that, Nick?
I was just gonna say, it's you, obviously it's you, Casey, and it's also, as we all know, it's a team, and the team there at the Argyros is so fantastic. And
the team here is amazing. For those of you who tuned in last week, we made a whole big splashy thing about the whole team here. It was Sam Molnar's birthday last week, and we ended with a rendition of Happy Birthday for Sam.
Yeah,
so Sam, along with Mike Hoover, Alex Lilly, Margaret Hamamoto, Nick Harmon, Meg McGraw, Joanne Davenport. The team here is fantastic. And everyone here is doing really well. It's great to see you guys, see that you're doing well. For those of you who dialed in, we've got one more of these next week with the sensational Rick Miller. And I hope you'll join us for that. Thanks for joining Argyros Happy Hour. Charles, Nick, Renan, we love you guys. We love you guys big time. Cheers.
Be safe. We'll see you soon.
Everyone, take care. Stay safe. Lots of love, all right?
Same to you. Thanks, Casey.
You guys are the best.
Bye, Sun Valley. We love you.
Bye, everybody.